Ahoy! Welcome back to the throne room. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this week I'm joined by absolutely no one. Insert cricket noises. No, all fun and games though. Great week for football, first of all. Let me start by saying that. Absolutely fantastic week for college and NFL football. It started on Thursday night with the Patriots and the Colts. That was a fun game to watch, even though I knew the Colts were going to get handed to. But that's where it started. And then college football. I mean, this is the best week for college football, I think, in a long time. I think maybe week 2 you can make an argument that was the best week so far. But this week was just phenomenal. I mean, it seemed like every game was a good game. Every game that mattered. Great games. Great games. A&M won. Fantastic game there in overtime, beat an undefeated Kentucky, and they're ranked again. They're number 22 again. Alabama, I'm upset with Alabama, actually. Letting up 31 points against Arkansas. Who the heck is Arkansas? We had a great game against Texas and Oklahoma. Great game against Florida State and Miami. Great game with Kentucky and A&M. Great game Mississippi State and Auburn. We had a great game between Florida and LSU. Great games all Saturday and Sunday. Great games. I just finished watching the Texans and the Cowboys, and I was in a little bit of a predicament because, I'm from San Antonio, so we have a contract with Dallas saying that we'll be their fan. But fantasy-wise, I'm going up against Seth Williams. Shout out. You've heard him on the podcast, but I'm going up against him this week, and he had Zeke on his team, so I needed Zeke to get shut down, and he kind of did. He only had like 8 points or something like that, so thank goodness for that. But so for as far as fantasy goes, I wanted Houston to win, just so I could get some fantasy credit. By the way, the score between me and first of all, Seth is number 1 in our league, and I'm number 2 right behind him. We're both 3-1, and as far as points for and points against, me and him are 1 and 2 respectively. And so this is a big game. This is a kind of a rank breaking game, and score is 101.3 to 92.5, and his kicker plays tomorrow, Will Lutz. Dude, that guy's averaging like 11 points a game, so it'll be close. I might lose, but I might win. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so finish that game. Texans beat Indianapolis last week in overtime, and that was a great game. And then this week in overtime against the Cowboys, fantastic the way they're playing. Watson took a lot of beatings. He got beat up by the Cowboys defense. I was also very impressed with the red zone defense from Dallas. Man, they two goal line stands where they just were made to kick a field goal. I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing from the linebacker position now that Sean Lee is out for indefinitely, I guess. And but anyway, we'll get into all this, okay? We'll get into all the nitty-gritty. The bulk of this episode, I want to talk about, because now that Texas beat Oklahoma, and now that Miami beat Florida State, and Notre Dame is still undefeated, and everyone on Twitter and ESPN and SportsCenter and NFL Network, they're all saying that these teams are, quote, back. Like, Texas is back. Oh, Notre Dame is back. You know what happened the last time anyone said that Notre Dame was back? That was that the last year? I think that was the last year of the BCS. No, it might not be the last year, but I think it was one of the last years in the BCS where they played Alabama and literally got like ravaged, like literally pooped on, and Alabama put up it was like 40-3 or something like that. So when teams are quoted as being back, is that as liable as we would like? Because, and don't get me wrong, it's not. It might be a little bit about because I am an A&M student, so there might be some bias with people saying that UT is back. But let's think pragmatically about this, and I'll try to set my biases aside. So let's take Texas, for example, and we're going to reference the rankings, okay? So Texas is number 9, okay? So let's turn the clocks back to week 1. Texas somehow loses to Maryland. Okay. 34-29, week 1, they lose to Maryland. And, there was so much hype in the offseason about Sam Ehlinger and how he was going to, bring back the UT culture, and then you lose 34-29 to Maryland. Okay, how? Where? Why? And it's a home game, so, Okay. Week 2, you're thinking, okay, maybe week 1 was just, a bad week for us, for whatever reason. We came out thinking we're going to blow this team up, and, we just couldn't get it done. A lot of stupid mistakes. Okay, so you come out week 2, you play Tulsa. Another easy game, a give-me game. Tulsa is nobody. You barely beat Tulsa. 28-21. I mean, literally you let up 3 touchdowns against Tulsa, which is unheard of if you're ranked. Okay. Then week 3, you play USC, and there's all this hype because of the history and whatnot, but remember, USC had a terrible game, and they've had a terrible season so far, pragmatically speaking. Okay, and you handily beat USC. Okay, and then you play TCU, and you handily beat TCU. Okay, but then you play Kansas State, and you only win by 5 points, 19-14. Okay, so let's just talk about that before the Oklahoma game. Is that enough to say that they're back? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is nowhere near grounds for saying that a team is back. If you lose to Maryland, you only beat Tulsa by a touchdown, and you beat USC and TCU, and you almost lose to Kansas State. By no means, in any team, no matter what, in any state or league, can you say that that's grounds for being back. And then you play Oklahoma. Okay? Now, Oklahoma has lost a lot of defensive weapons. Their secondary is not near what they used to be. Their front 4 is not near what they used to be. They've lost a lot of weapons. And you lose by 3 points. Or you win. Excuse me. You win by 3 points, 48-45. It was a great game. Don't get me wrong. Sam Ehlinger had a fantastic game. 24 for 35, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He took care of the football. He, made plays when he needed to. He converted on 3rd down, 4th down. He was making the right throws. He did great. He had a fantastic game. And really, that's their offense is revolved around him. You have 2 good receivers with Lil Jordan Humphrey, and then you have Colin Johnson. Both had good games, but I mean that's your offense. Oklahoma didn't play a good game. They didn't play the way that they should have. Now their offense did good. I think I saw a lot of good things from their offense, but they weren't perfect. They had a lot of terrible drives where I'm thinking, this guy Kyler Murray is like the worst player in the world. But then other times Kyler Murray is like a cheat code on the field and, puts up 21 points in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. I still don't buy that they're back. And I'm setting all my biases aside, and you can get mad at me all you want. But there's just not enough there for Texas to say that they're back. Okay? And I'm going to reference that with other ranked teams that are said to be back. Okay? Let's look at number 5, Notre Dame. Okay? They're undefeated, 6-0, and they replaced LSU. Okay? So let's look at them. You beat Michigan, 24-17. Okay, you should be ranked just from that to start. Not number 5, but in the 20s. Okay, and then you come out week 2, 24-16 against Ball State. 24, literally, how do they even score 2 touchdowns on you if you're back? Anyway, week 3, 22-17 against Vanderbilt. It is an SEC team, but Vanderbilt is kind of bad in the SEC. I mean, they're worse than like a lot of teams in other conferences, even being in the SEC. And Notre Dame beats them by 5 points. Okay, then you play Wake Forest, and Wake Forest puts up 4 touchdowns against you, but you beat them pretty handedly. And then you play Stanford. Now, Stanford is another one of those where I'm like, all right, I'll give it to you. Because Stanford's not ranked. Stanford is not what they used to be. In fact, Stanford's pretty bad this year. But I know that they're really good competitors. Then next week you play Virginia Tech. And you let up 3 touchdowns against Virginia Tech. Okay, so all of these games, all of these teams that you're playing should not get you in the number 5 ranking conversation. Nowhere near. You should be ranked. You're still undefeated. So you got that going for you because you have a winning culture and you have weapons, obviously. You're putting up 50 points and 45 points. But other than that, I mean, it's nothing impressive. You're not playing good teams, and you're number 5. To say that a team is back, what do you need to have on your resume? Well, it can't just be wins and losses. Because you're undefeated, you shouldn't be ranked high. Because look, you can be a Power 5 team and play D1 junior colleges and be undefeated. That doesn't mean you should be in the top 5 or top 6 conversation. I mean, it's nowhere close. And then you can't come back and say at the end of the season when another team who's played better and higher caliber teams wins the national championship, you can't come back and say, oh, we're the national championship team because we were undefeated, even though we played like nobody. Let's look at Oregon. Everyone's saying that Oregon is back. They're number 17 in the nation, and this one will blow your mind. They play Bowling Green. They play Portland State. They play San Jose State. They lose to Stanford, and we've already established that Stanford is not good. They play California. They don't play anyone else. The rest of their schedule is Washington, Washington State, Arizona, UCLA, Utah, Arizona State, and Oregon State. Literally, they don't play anybody else of good caliber. Now, the other question I ask myself is, okay, well, will we ever know if Texas is back this season? because we've already said that it's not enough to say that they're back as of